Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's going to be a long video, so I'm going to jump right into it. Today I am going to be telling you all about the Disney College Program roles. So there are a lot of options of different roles and jobs that you can get in the company. And I'm going to help you choose which one will be best suited for you based on your personality. If you were to ask an employer, a family member, close friend, what would be one word that they would describe you by to explain your work ethic? So maybe you have a little bit of all these traits, maybe you have one of them in particular, maybe you have one or two. If you have all of them, that's awesome. You could do any of these jobs perfectly. If you don't think you have any of these traits, I'm sure you do. I'm sure many of your past employers and your family and friends could vouch for you that you would do great in these roles. I'm just trying to help you guys figure out where you would be the best fit. So just to say a couple of general things before we start, I'm going to be talking about Walt Disney World in Florida, which has a lot more roles than Disneyland in California's college program. So if you want to do that one, I'm sure there's a video on that. I'm going to be mostly talking about Florida. That's where I was. I did the DCP of spring 2019. If you haven't seen my other videos, I have a lot of other informative DCP videos for you to check out. I also want to say I'm not an expert on all of these roles. I was just an attractions cast member, but I did know people in almost every other role. My friends from work, their roommates, my roommates, people you meet, you just learn a lot about all the different roles. And also a lot of research that I've done on the website, which you guys can do too. I'm going to link the Disney College Program website down below. It's going to have everything laid out for you, but I just thought I would try and break it up for you to make it easier. Walt Disney World is an extremely prestigious, well-known, worldwide company. It has taken over the entire world, honestly. And to be able to say that you work there is a huge honor, but it's also a huge responsibility. So you have to be ready to represent the company with safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency, which are the 4 keys that you will hear all about, trust me. But if you think that you're not ready enough, you're not confident enough to do that, maybe it's not right for you yet. Maybe get some more years of work experience under your belt and then I'm sure you'll be ready. But I know all of you guys are going to do great. So no matter what role you have, be prepared that you could be standing on your feet for your entire shift. You could also be subject to the heat, humidity, and rain of Florida, standing outside all day. So these are pretty exhausting things, and if you're sensitive to that, it might not be the right job for you because no matter what location you are, no matter what role you are, there is a chance that you could be on your feet outside. So keep that in mind and don't be disappointed if you get accepted, get a role that you think is inside, and you end up on your feet outside all day. It could happen, be prepared. One final thing I'm going to say before jumping in is that when you get to your application, which I will talk about in a future video, you can rank the roles you want from high interest to medium interest to low interest. If you want something, put it as high interest. If you could never see yourself doing this thing, do not even check it off as low interest. But if you are someone who will do any job just to work at Disney, do whatever you want because then they'll consider you for everything. I'll talk about that more in depth later on in a different video about applications. Coming soon. Alright guys, here we go. The first personality trait that I'm going to break down into roles is responsible. So this is going to be for all of the safety critical roles at Disney World. The most important roles with the most management watching you and the most responsibility. This also includes being drug tested for all of these roles. So if for some reason you have that as part of your lifestyle, before you go to Disney World, you want to cut that out beforehand because these roles are safety critical. You're drug tested, is taken extremely seriously. So the first one in this category is attractions, and that is what I did. I was in Spaceship Earth, and that is a huge ride. You know, any kind of operational thing, it's very, very important to keep the guests safe when you're operating a machine. But attractions is not only the rides, it is also parking, so operating the trams and doing all those spiels, being outside all day. It is also different shows that they have in the parks. So the Festival of the Lion King, the Finding Nemo show, the Bird show. I'm naming all of the ones in Animal Kingdom. Then you have like Beauty and the Beast, Fantasmic, Rivers of Light. Those are all parts of attractions, and that might be the only thing that you get. That's not, I mean, it is attractions, and you might think you're going to be put on Flight of Passage, but you're going to be put in a show, and you have to, you know, get guests in their seats, show them the way out. And another thing that attractions includes is also the ESPN World of Sports. So you're not even in the Disney parks at all, you are in ESPN. So that is also something to keep in mind. If you get attractions, you could be put in any of those places. So please keep an open mind for all of these roles. I seriously loved attractions. I talk about it a little bit more in other videos. I was unhappy with Spaceship Earth at first, but I ended up loving it so much. I love being able to work that giant piece of machinery, that old piece of love. Oh, I miss it so much. I also know people in parking who had the best time. I know people who are in the show operations who also love their job. It's what you make of it, so keep an open mind. Next role for responsibility is going to be lifeguard. So this is obviously extremely important because you're in charge of the people's lives who are swimming, who are in the water parks. You are guarding their lives. So this also includes CPR certification. I knew a couple people who were lifeguards who loved it. You get to be outside all day, which could be good, could be bad. You don't need lifeguarding experience to be chosen for this, so if you put that as low interest and you think, oh, they're not gonna pick me because I was never a lifeguard, they still might, so be careful. If you have good swimming abilities and you're ever on a swim team or something like that, they might consider you. So if you don't want to be a lifeguard, do not put it down because that's a very, very serious job. Next is going to be Watercraft. So honestly, anything in transportation is considered safety critical. You need to be very responsible to transport guests from place to place. So Watercraft is going to be driving the boats from Disney Springs to the parks to the hotels. It's kind of cool because if you like being on a boat or helping people get on and off the boat, you might not necessarily be driving the boat. That would be a great job for you because you just get to be on the water all day. Might be rough on the rainy days and the thunderstormy days. I don't know if the boats even go out. Probably not, that would be unsafe. Same thing goes for the new Skyliner role. This is extremely new since the Skyliners just opened last year. And you're going to be helping guests on and off the Skyliners. You can't have a fear of heights because you probably have to go up, and I don't really know what that entails because I never even got to ride the Skyliners. That's how long I haven't been to Disney. But that's another transportation role, so you have to be responsible, you have to be safe. And then finally, Monorail. So you're not going to be driving the monorail or anything, but you're in charge of all the safety spiels, telling people to get on and off, watch the closing doors, step behind the yellow line on the floor, everything to make it safe for them. So again, safety critical. That one might be a little bit boring on the lulls between the middle of the day where not as many people are traveling to and from the parks, but it is what you make it. So the final one on the responsible category is going to be recreation activities. So these people are going to be water slide operators, which is very important for safety because you have to tell people when to go, when it's safe. You have to have strong swimming skills when you're watching them. It's kind of like the lifeguard, but just a little bit of a step down. Recreation can also be spas, fitness centers, cabana rentals, some of the less safety required things, but if you are water slide operator, you need to be extremely responsible for little kids going on slides, adults going on slides. People can get pretty crazy at the water parks, but I've heard that it's a really, really fun role. On to the next category. So this is going to be for the people who are very patient. You're going to be dealing with a lot of conflict resolution and guest complaints in these roles that I've listed. And you kind of have to be good at this for every role, but in some roles more than others, you're going to be dealing with a lot of guest complaints. So in no particular order, here's who gets the most complaints. Merchandise. You wouldn't think this, but a lot of guests don't even go to guest relations for a complaint. They go straight to the nearest store and complain to the merchandise cast members. I've heard this from all of them. Guests honestly complain to whoever they see first, but people in merchandise love it. It's one of the most popular roles out there because a lot of people have had merchandising jobs in their normal lives outside of Disney, so it's a good transition for them and they know it really well, so they're comfortable. And this is a great role because it's global. You can pick up a shift anywhere. So this is really fun for everyone because you get to wear a lot of different costumes, you get to see a lot of the different kinds of merchandise they have in all the different stores. Like one day you can be like, I want to work in Africa today, so you go to Animal Kingdom and pick up a shift. And I know in some parts of merchandising you need to get different trainings for maybe food or alcohol safety, whatever your store sells, so that might be a little hard to switch. Otherwise, that's great, but people are going to complain to you a lot in merchandising. Where did this thing go? Like they had it then, why isn't it here anymore? Or it's not my size anymore. Or people will ask you what the price of everything is, even though it's clearly labeled on all of the stands and color coordinated. So be very patient with everybody. People are going to be bugging you all day to pin trade. You're going to see them eyeing you across the room because I've been that person, like, can I have your pins? Can I see your pins? Thanks. So thanks merchandise people for being really patient. Next is going to be a Cedar. So this is also a really good transition if you were ever a hostess at a restaurant at home. And that's basically what a Cedar is. So you can work in the restaurants in Disney Springs, in the resorts, in the parks, So you're in charge of getting the reservations together, seating the guests on time. You also do some tray service in a resort. I know you can go around to different rooms and pick up their room service trays. There's a lot of different aspects to all these roles, but Cedar is basically a hostess, and you're gonna have guests coming up to you and saying, we had a reservation for this time, why is our table not ready yet? Or, oh, we're gonna add a couple people now, and you can't do that for them. You're gonna have hungry, actually hangry guests, which is probably the worst of all. And it also has to do with character dining sometimes. So if they have kids who are begging to see the princesses and they miss the character dining time, you can't do anything about that. You can't bring the characters out just for them. So that's gonna be pretty tough. But again, a really good transition. If you were hostess at home, you might flawlessly get into that role and be perfect for it. Next is going to be front desk. So this is really great if you want to work in hotels in the future and if you've had maybe some kind of hospitality experience before. So front desk is exactly what it sounds like. You're at the resorts, you're checking guests in, checking guests out, helping them with anything that has to do with their rooms, answering the phones, and you're gonna have a lot of complaints because I know on my family vacations, my grandma has complained to many a front desk person for rooms getting messed up, any kind of situation like a smell in the room, maybe it's not as clean as you want it to be. Front desk is gonna get all of those complaints. And you're gonna have to answer a lot of questions to help people prepare for their day at the parks because they're gonna go to you, the first face they see when they exit their room. So props to you, front desk people. Also, they are a global role as well. You can pick up a front desk shift at basically any resort. So that's pretty fun too because then you get to be in all the different beautiful lobbies, wear all the cool costumes. I love that about it, is that I wish I had a global role because I would have loved to try on everyone's different costumes. The last role that requires the most patience is going to be the vacation planners. So when you enter the park, there's the whole entrance part where you scan your magic band or your card or whatever, but there's also this section with the ticket booths, and those are the vacation planners. So they're going to help people buy their tickets and get set up for as many days as they're there, setting up seasonal passes, I believe. You also might be working in audience control during parades and maybe even nighttime shows if you want to pick up those shifts, and that requires a whole lot of patience too. So the next one is a really fun one, and it's the majority of the roles because you have to be friendly and bubbly. Yes, you have to do this, obviously, for every job. And these roles have to do the most with guest interaction and especially children interaction. So the first one's going to be children's activities, and this is an extremely competitive role. A lot of people love working with children. They've been camp counselors, they want to be teachers, and they think children's activities will be perfect for them. This entails you being at the pool, setting up games for them to play, or on a rainy day having a whole bunch of activities for them. And it's honestly so fun. Hula hoop contests, making s'mores at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. It sounds like a dream if you love kids. And it is for most people, so that's why it's so competitive. But you have to be really great at working with kids and making sure their parents know that they're safe with you and that they're having fun and out of their hair for like 3 seconds. The next one is going to be the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique / Pirates League. And you could be working in the castle, in Disney Springs, or in the Pirates League over by Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is amazing because you get to transform children into whatever they want to be for the day. And I think it's the closest to making magic out of all of the roles. I know this is also an extremely competitive role. You most likely have to have experience doing hair and makeup in the past and have a great personality for this because kids might be really excited with how they look and their parents might hate it. And you have to know how to handle that. But you just have to make them feel like the most special kids in the world on that day. And that's where your personality of being friendly and bubbly and great with kids will come in. Next, of course, is character performer. Another amazing role that a lot of people want, and you actually have to audition for this. Trying to stick with character integrity here. Every college program character performer has to be friends with someone who's fur. So that means you're going to be in the heat, it's going to be very, very hot, but you get a lot of breaks. So if you're friends with a face character, your friend actually gets to converse with the guests, which is a lot more interaction than your friend who is fur, because then they just use all their gestures and animations. Either way, it's probably the most magical role. It's probably the most coveted as well. It's extremely hard to get it. Next is going to be the character attendant because they have to, get everybody really excited to meet the characters, be ready to take any pictures for them, help explain what their fur friends need to say if somebody wants to have a conversation with them. They have to basically talk for them, which is really awesome. And this is also, I was debating putting this in the patient category because When you have to close a character's line to give them a break, you can have some extremely angry families because they were on that line for an hour and they never got to meet the character. And you have to say, oh, we'll be back soon, or come back tomorrow if it's the last one of the day. But that happens. It really happens, and lines get really long. So be patient and just be as friendly as possible without being passive aggressive. Because I know at the end of the day it gets really hard to keep that friendly, bubbly personality up, but if that is your whole personality, you will be great at this. The next role that requires you to be friendly and bubbly is PhotoPass. And these people have to get the guests to come over into their photo line and get them excited to take a picture holding Tinkerbell, or creating a magical moment for them, or catching an engagement even. You have to be so excited for these guests who are seeing the castle for the first time, or maybe it's somebody's last trip to Disney and they want to document it. Like, you have to be there and be so excited to hear their story, where they're from, and make sure you capture the essence of their trip in those few photos that you have with them. And it's pretty amazing to be able to do that all day, but it is tough if you have to stand outside on Main Street or on Sunset Boulevard or something like that and take pictures all day. I'm sure it could get pretty hard, but you have to be really bubbly and excited to interact with everybody who passes you all day long. Finally, we have Convention Guide, and these are the people who work specifically at the special events that Disney has. So all of the festivals in Epcot, Food and Wine, Flower and Garden, Festival of the Arts, and all the holidays, Halloween, Christmas time, 4th of July, New Year's Eve, everything special is where the convention guides come in. And this requires a lot of training. Things are changing for you guys a lot, and you have to be ready to answer all the questions and set things up. I'm not really sure what it entails. I didn't know anybody who was a convention guide, but I'm sure that there are specific videos about that you can get more information. But I do know that you have to be friendly and bubbly and excited for all of the themed changes that are happening in the parks. The next group of roles is for someone who is very dependable and hardworking, and that's because these are the roles that are in the highest demand but the least people want to do. That's why they're in such high demand. So I'm sure you can guess that the first thing on this list is custodial. So this has had a bad reputation in the past because obviously you hear the word custodian, it just has a negative connotation to it. But I have only heard good stories about the custodial role. These people obviously have to clean up around the parks. You have to clean the bathrooms, clean up when someone gets sick on a ride. Not fun or magical stuff at all. That is a small percentage of the role that kind of is not fun, and the rest, you get to walk around with your big garbage pail, you get to do whatever you want. I've seen custodians going around singing, doing character impressions. You can make whatever you want out of the role. You don't have to talk to anyone if you don't want to. But there's the opportunity to have a lot of awesome interactions. You can walk around the entire park. It's a global role. You can pick up shifts all over the place and just meet all these different people, pin trade. The list is endless. So if you can get past the part about cleaning all that up, you will be perfect for it, because it is just walk around and have fun. You just can't go on the rides. You can go in the rides to clean it up, but you're not going on the rides. So thank you, custodians, for doing that, because I personally know that I could not do that role. I have a weak stomach. It's not for me. So if you think you can get past it, amazing. You'll have a great time. And they need you, so you'll know that you're fulfilling a very high demand role. And that will help you sleep at night, I promise. Next one is going to be quick service food and beverage, and this is a very, very popular role for college program people to get. I feel like the majority of people that do the college program are put in quick service, because there are so many locations in resorts, in the parks, the outside vending. They need a lot of people in their kitchens, and you have to have no allergies. Do not apply for this if you have any kind of allergies or sensitivities to chemicals or foods. And you have to be ready to be hot and sweaty and around greasy food sometimes. You could get really lucky and get the Dole Whip counter and just be there all day serving pineapple Dole Whip, but I'm sure that gets old too. So you have to be ready to handle some crazy crowds if you're in a popular resort, or work until 2 a.m. sometimes and close it out. It is tough, but it is for the hardworking, dependable people, and you can have a really, really great time. You work with a lot of people and you can get really close to the people who work with you at your location. So that is really nice, and sometimes you get to just prepare the food, which means mostly heating it up. But you're gonna be, bussing the tables, refilling the napkins, and taking orders, getting drinks ready, all of that. And it's basically just like any kind of fast food job, but it's Disney, so it's better. The next thing that is for the dependable person is going to be bell services. So this is not as high in demand at all. It's actually kind of rare, and if you say you want bell services, you're most likely going to get it. This is not a bellhop, but it's someone who assists a bellhop and greets the guests when they come to the hotel, gets their bags, stores them away before the room is ready, brings them to the room when they're ready, or transports the luggage to different resorts from the buses, wherever they come from. So that is really great, but you're going to be moving around a lot. You're going to be carrying heavy luggage. So that is for someone who's really dependable. But you also get to see a lot of different resorts while you're doing it, which is fun. Now we are on to the person who is more shy or reserved. So I know a lot of people might get a little bit anxious around large groups of people, maybe get nervous when they are asked a question and they don't know if they're going to have the right answer. So these are some roles that have the least amount of guest interaction, and it's for the more independent worker. So this is going to be a house person, so it's basically housekeeping. You work in a resort, you clean up the rooms, make the beds, maybe do the turn down service. I personally didn't know anybody who was a house person, but I've heard that it's super independent. You have a lot to do on your own, which is great, but you're really not interacting with many guests because you are in their rooms when they're out having fun in the parks and making sure they are comfortable when they get back. So that is for someone who loves to clean. If you don't love to clean and you don't want to, go into somebody else's room with all their belongings, it might not be right for you. But if you like to be by yourself, do your work, go ahead and do house person because they need those too. So the final role for someone who is more reserved is going to be costuming. And this role is basically, I think it's entirely backstage, so you don't have to interact with any guests at all. You just interact with your fellow cast members, and you're going to give them out their costume, you're going to figure out the name tag situations for them, maybe if they lost theirs, you're going to give them a new one, a fake one. So what actually happens is if you forget your name tag at work, they give you one of their many name tags who have gender neutral names on them, and like Chris or Taylor, something like that, and that's what you wear for the day, which is pretty funny. But costuming has to deal with all those backstage things, even doing laundry, so it's kind of all kept to yourself, really not that much interaction, not that glamorous of a job either, but if you are more reserved, it would be perfect for you. I also wanted to repeat a couple just to emphasize the fact that they are very team-based. A lot of the roles are super independent where you don't have, your same group of people every time. You're kind of working with different people every day, and that honestly depends on where you are. So some of the roles where you're going to be seeing the same people every day that aren't global roles include attractions. I had my core group of people at Spaceship Earth. We got so close because of it, and I saw them every day, and you really do have to work together in different positions on the rides or maybe in a show, and all of your parking people too. That you will be seeing the same people every day. You're gonna get really close with them. Cedars have to work really well with other Cedars, their managers, and also the waiters and waitresses that work there, just so everything runs smoothly in the restaurant that they're in. And also quick service food and beverage. You're gonna be working as a team to keep that quick service place running well as well. So for those couple of roles, you really can't have too much of a strong head and want to be in charge of everything because it's very equal. You have to work together as a team, even though sometimes people think they are better than you, which happens. So that was how I broke up all the roles. They all fall under every single category, but if I had to split them up, that would be what you would need most for that role. Hopefully this made the roles more clear to you guys. If you wanted in-depth descriptions of each role and what it's like from an actual cast member, there are tons of videos here on YouTube of people who had just that role, and they will tell you the ins and outs of it, their day-to-day life, if you wanted to know that. This is just a general overview to help you decide where you should start looking. I know a lot of you guys aren't even in college yet, but you're so excited and ready to apply as soon as you can, and that's amazing. So do as much research as you want, and you'll be totally ready, and you will know exactly where you will fit. But again, just because you think you'll fit there doesn't mean the recruiter needs you there or thinks you'll fit there. So do not get too attached to one role because it can be really, really devastating if you don't get what you want. So try and keep an open mind and pick a list of at least 5 that you would love to do. Just enjoy the experience of getting to know all these different roles in the company, and hopefully one day you'll be able to do that. I'm so lucky that I was able to get there. I know you guys will too, and I hope this helped. I know it was really long, but thank you for listening. And if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments, and have a great day. Bye!